I think a lot of the time indecision comes from lack of information as opposed to anything else. So if there are some things that you think you might like, putting yourself in positions where you get to experience them a little bit, and as you go, try to move in a way where you don't prevent yourself or make it harder to go towards one of those possible areas. And also know that it's productive to explore. Just because every answer isn't the right one doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to uncover that rock.
Hello, Wolfpack fans. Today on our podcast, I'm so excited to interview Dr. Emily McCain, who is currently the Director of Research and Development at Springbok Analytics. Emily, you have not only one, not two, but 3 degrees from North Carolina State University, all in mechanical engineering, ending with your PhD, and you went on and did a postdoc, and now you're out in industry. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So glad to have you on today. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, and then we'll dive into some fun questions because your life has taken interesting turns, and we want to get into that.
Well, I obviously very much enjoyed my time at NC State, so I'll say a little bit. I know we're going to get into that, so I'll say a little bit about where I am now. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. The company I work at, Springbok Analytics, they're a muscle analytics company, so they can provide whole body assessment of muscle health from a rapid MRI scan. It's really interesting. We work with professional sports teams, but also with researchers investigating the efficacy of treatments for different types of muscular dystrophies. There's just a ton of different directions to take it, so I'm really enjoying that now. I'm married and I have one son named Owen and a dog named Doolin. I think that's probably the high points.
And the newest addition to your family is Owen, is that correct? So
That's
dog
correct.
has had to take a back seat, unfortunately.
Yes, he's big brother now.
I love that. And so you are not only juggling a full-time job, but having a toddler, or will we say a baby or an infant? I'm not sure what the designations are.
I think he's full toddler force at this point.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so a lot is going on your plate. So want to back up a little bit to high school. And your decision was a bit unconventional because you decided to hit a pause button before college. And most of the college students I talk to they're in the biggest rush. Like, I have to get this done as fast as possible. But you took a gap year. Tell us a bit about what that was like and how it changed your opinions about approaching education and even life.
Yeah, that's a fun question. Talking about how much is going on currently, it is nice to reminisce on 18 years old for sure. I guess I'll firstly say what allowed me to pause, which was a lot of support from my family. And also NC State, they allowed me to defer enrollment for a year. So I actually applied and was accepted and then went and asked if I could take a year off and made a pitch and they let me. So that was pretty exciting and definitely a privilege. I actually grew up in Raleigh. I knew I wanted to attend NC State because I had a really strong interest in STEM, but I also really wanted to explore. Traveling in general teaches you humility. You learn kind of how much you don't know about the world, and you get to appreciate different perspectives, different cultures, different natural beauties. You're put in situations that are uncomfortable, but in like the best way, because you learn to adapt and grow and build confidence. So I think at a 10,000-foot view, that's how it affected the way I approach education and life, was just with a little bit more curiosity and embracing discomfort. So, I mean, it was a very lucky thing to be able to do, and I had a lot of fun.
I appreciate you bringing it up to the listener who may be a current student in high school, not even knowing that they can ask for that. So advocating for yourself, and also for those folks that are currently students, just the impact that having some global experience has on you. So we'll link up to our study abroad office, because I know even if you didn't do the gap year, there's still time.
Absolutely. I actually studied abroad as well. I went to Australia. So I would, I guess I threw the timeline out the window a little bit. but it was both experiences were incredibly valuable, and I really do feel like if you can, which I know is a big if, it can be really rewarding and can build a lot of confidence.
Oh, so not only did you do the year, but you did another study abroad. So Australia, and what were the other countries you now have on your list that you have had a chance to walk around?
For my gap year, I was able to go. I went to Spain for 3 months. I took a Spanish immersion program there, so I got to learn a lot about the Spanish language. I also got to live with somebody who was from Madrid. And then after that, I went to South America for 5 months. I went to Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina. That was one third volunteer work, one third travel, and one third trekking, actually, like outdoor packing. And I really liked all of those parts, but I didn't feel like I'd gotten my full of the backpacking. So I went to the Yukon next for a month on a national outdoor leadership course, and I walked around with a 60-pound backpack for 30 days. And that was challenging and also really, really fun.
It sounds like you are a very fit as well as experienced person around the globe. You've hit several continents there. My goodness, 60 pounds. That makes me tired even thinking about it.
You could tip over and you needed some help. So I don't know if it was fitness or fortitude, but we had fun.
You did it. Well, I also had the very nice opportunity to spend time in Australia. I was in Brisbane for 6 months and I got to travel around a little bit. I'm just curious what you took away from that experience. Mine was a sabbatical, so I was actually still employed by NC State, and faculty who are listening, you can ask your department heads to do a sabbatical. You don't always get it, but if you do get it, it's life-changing. And I picked up my two kids who were 8 and 12 at the time, and my husband, and we just plopped on the other side of the globe. But I loved it there. What did you think?
Yeah, I had a great time. I felt very at home there. I was at Monash University, which is in Melbourne. I do think that the in terms of education, the thing that I took away was learning a little bit more about how to function well in an environment with less kind of guidelines. They didn't have as many homework assignments, tests. It was really just one big exam that made up a lot of your grade. And in a lot of ways, that's similar to graduate school. Obviously, we do have more exams, but in terms of your research, there's less checking in as a part of the structured program. My advisor was amazing about it, but there were less formal exams, and you kind of had to figure out a way to make sure that you were progressing in your own right and keeping track of your progress and taking small steps.
I bet that prepared you for grad school. And it's so interesting just how different universities and different countries have approaches to education. You can learn so much from how they structure things. So I'm a huge fan. I went back a second time. The wildlife, I'm sure you enjoyed too.
Oh my goodness, yes. The reef, the snorkeling was amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh my goodness, we're on a tangent, but let's get back to when
Yes.
you were on this gap year. Let's go back to that age 18, because that's a big, big impressionable time in a adolescent's life, not quite an adult yet. Was there a moment when you said, this is exactly what I need? Or were you kind of looking at what all your friends were doing in college and comparing yourself? What was going on?
I don't think that I had a single aha moment at least not at 18, partially possibly just because I wasn't as reflective back then. I think there were countless small moments where I thought, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful to be where I am. Moments where there was a lot of awe or fear or excitement. And I think later on, there were a lot of moments where I felt more prepared or like my decisions or the way I moved was affected by my gap year. So I think things like resilience from a 60-pound backpack helped. Also learning how much I loved being outdoors and how much more productive my rests were when I could incorporate time outside. And again, just kind of being comfortable with things that are uncomfortable or unfamiliar, I think was something that was incredibly valuable later on.
100% pushing yourself. So it doesn't sound like there was a lot of comparison, thinking you're behind in any way.
No, no, not at all. I was really happy to be in a foreign country on a mountain. That seemed fun. I didn't have any complaints at all. I was thrilled.
Yes, twist my arm. That's
Yeah.
a rough life. All right. So you come back, you had your deferred admission. Now you're beginning in an undecided start to college. And I think our first year college has changed names multiple times. It might be University College now and first year college at one point. But you started without an academic home like College of Engineering, where you ended up. And that is a time where I hate saying undecided. I really want to rewind that and in my own brain say deciding, because that means you're putting it out into the universe, like, universe, I am ready to decide. Do you recommend that people begin without having everything figured out at that first year in college?
Absolutely. I think having structured opportunities to try different majors without as much pressure is really valuable. It was really helpful to learn a lot about what I don't want to do, just as much as what I do want to do. I think, especially at that age, it can be, you often have the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think it's really important to emphasize that learning what you don't want to do is also progress, and you're going to have a lot more moments of learning what you don't want to do than you are the one moment where you learn what you do want to do. So I really appreciated that program for that reason. I thought it was really helpful to kind of structure in exploration before locking into something in your education.
Good to hear you reassure other folks that maybe don't have it all figured out and they're looking around at their roommates and going, they want to be a doctor, they want to be a teacher, and they don't know. Let's just realize that, like, how many people really know what they're going to do for the rest of their lives when they're a teenager? I remember at orientation, I would talk to parents and I'd say, okay, so here you are, raise your hand if when you were 18 or 19, you knew what you'd be doing today. And out of 100 people, there'd be like 3 people that were like, I always wanted to be a vet. So giving yourself time to figure that out is more the norm than the exception. And I guess it's a little scary not knowing, but you ended up in College of Engineering. So walk us through that transition.
Absolutely. I think at the beginning, just taking classes that I knew or that I thought I would enjoy and finding out. I really loved my physics courses, and it became kind of clear through the introductory engineering classes I took, as well as, the first year college projects that we did to kind of explore majors, that engineering was the direction that best fit my interests and my aptitudes. And then I ended up picking mechanical engineering more because it enabled the most options to remain open. I learned a little bit about what I didn't like. I did not love chemistry. And I learned a little bit about what I did like. I did love physics. And I knew that mechanical engineering was a degree where I could use those aptitudes and also could apply in a lot of different fields. And so I actually matriculated, I don't know what they call it now, coded or something like that, into mechanical because I knew that that was a department that gave me enough options to kind of hone in on later on.
Sure. So for a person standing where you stood in that decision of deciding and thinking that maybe they should have it figured out what they want to be when they quote unquote grow up, what would you say to them?
I would say the pressure isn't necessarily helpful for that. I would say if you're unsure to put yourself in a position to learn, I think a lot of the time indecision comes from lack of information. As opposed to anything else. So if there are some things that you think you might like, putting yourself in positions where you get to experience them a little bit, and as you go, try to move in a way where you don't prevent yourself or make it harder to go towards one of those possible areas. And also know that it's productive to explore. Just because every answer isn't the right one doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to uncover that rock.
Right. Exploring is part of the process and giving yourself the grace to be compassionate and understand that you can change your mind and you are not
Right.
locked into any one thing. All right. So now, today, we'll fast forward to your life. I see the wonderful pictures behind you, the NC State and the beautiful baby, and you got this life. Is it all fun and games, Dr. McCain, or what's it like balancing family, career, all the things?
You know, being a parent is definitely challenging. It's all new. but it's also really, really fun. I think it's the happiest 2 years of my life for sure. It's definitely a balancing act. I think any parent will tell you that navigating sick days for both of us, childcare, time management, but it's also just incredibly rewarding and incredibly fun.
Is your company supportive of you? You mentioned you might need to take time off to go to the pediatrician and that kind of thing. Was that a decision helper for you to see if that was acceptable in this culture?
They certainly are very supportive. I think I've been really lucky. One of the more surprising parts about motherhood or parenthood has been how supportive my professional network has been. I think these people were kind of always part of my journey, but when I became a parent, this network kind of opened up and was really encouraging and there for advice. So it definitely was part of my decision to make sure that I was somewhere that parenthood was supported, and it's been a lot easier, I think, because of that. I know because of that. So it's been a good place to work. I really enjoy where I am right now.
You have to think about that, right? When you're interviewing and you're having interactions with your would-be boss, I think that's probably the most important person to know that you're a human being navigating all the different roles. And I went through that situation too. I think I'm a generation up from you because I'm now an official grandmother and helping my daughter out after her maternity leave ended because I love being involved in family and it's so important to me. But I do remember interviewing at another university down the road that just made me feel uncomfortable that they'd be glaring at me if I wasn't working 24/7, and that wasn't a decision I personally wanted to make.
No, yeah, I completely agree. The company where I am now, Springbok Analytics, there are several moms there that I look up to and that I work with on a daily basis. So I feel very supported and encouraged there. And I also am very lucky to have a husband who is very flexible with his work as well and who is a very present father. So
Yes. Oh, I'm glad for you. And you talked a little bit about your company earlier, Springbok Analytics, how you're doing overall mission work with muscular dystrophy and muscles and athletes, I think were the things that stuck in my head. Is that meaningful to you to know that what you're doing is having a big impact in a positive way?
I think so. I think that's why I love biomechanics so much, which is the research area I ended up with. It is a way to apply engineering to help people, and I find that so rewarding. And so Springbok offers an opportunity for me to do that in industry. So we do work with researchers that are developing treatments for different types of muscular dystrophies. And like you said, we also work with professional sports teams. So there's a lot of variety there, but we provide measurements of muscle health that can help you understand what your muscles look like at an individual muscle level for the whole body, which is really incredible and really fun and on the forefront of technology still, even though I'm not in academia. So it's been an incredibly rewarding place to work and a lot of fun.
I think our doctoral students who are trying to decide about industry versus academics will find your sharing about this very informative. Is there anything else you would want to tell them if they're debating and they're not sure which employer would be the best fit?
Yeah, absolutely. I really struggled with where to go after my PhD. I waffled a lot on industry versus academia for years, honestly. I went to like programs for faculty development. So I really did just put myself in every situation I could to kind of investigate that question and what fit well for me. I ended up figuring out that I really thrive more in a situation and in an environment where there's shorter deadlines and quicker turnaround. My brain enjoys that pressure, and that was a big decision. And also finding a company that was supportive of parents and also that still allowed me to use my research muscles, quote unquote, and to investigate questions that I found interesting in the course of my work. I don't know if that's a diamond in the rough or a needle in a haystack, but I feel really, really grateful for what I've found. But they're both really great places to be. Academia and industry are both really great places to be. So I think it's just about where your aptitudes and interests meet.
Thank you for normalizing that struggle you went through, and it's helpful to see that there are pros and cons of both and really trying to fit your values with the employer and the supervisor, I think are a couple takeaways. All right, we gotta hop in our time machine now. Are you ready for a little off the wall question?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So Emily, Dr. Emily McCain of the year 2035 has just hopped out of the time machine magically and is sitting right across from you in your home office at this moment. And she has come with a message to you, your older, wiser self. What do you currently today in 2025 need to hear?
I think maybe just keep taking the next best step. I think less pressure on what you're gonna do in 10 years necessarily, or 20 or 30 or 40, and just take the next best step.